So yeah, just following on from the whole Soviet Union thing, I've got a friend who's Hungarian. She's a very intelligent girl, and she was about 18, roughly, when Hungary pulled away from the Soviet Union, as did an awful lot of other countries around about the same time. And she remembers quite distinctively at that age, and as I say, she's a very intelligent girl, so therefore this isn't something where you could say, oh well, it was because of her lack of intelligence. Quite the opposite. She's very knowledgeable. But she remembers at that age suddenly being told essentially that she could think for herself, she could have her own opinion. Up till then, under Soviet rule, everybody had just been taught facts. So you were taught history and you were taught geography and everything was factual, but nobody ever stopped to say, what's your opinion on this? You didn't have an opinion. That was Sovietism. It's a condition. It's the way people have been conditioned over that period of time. And then another guy that I met, sorry, another guy, that's a lady that I know, the Hungarian, but a fella that I met who was Russian, this is on this holiday, he was saying that the education system is dramatically worse now than it was under the Soviets. So there's an interesting thing, because he was saying that when it was, he again was in his mid-40s, so he had been brought up through Sovietism, and he said when the Soviets ran the schools, he said it was absolutely superb. He said our education system was fantastic. He said now that he's got children in school, and it's well known, this fact, it's not just his opinion, the education system has slipped considerably. So it's very easy to be critical of the Russians, and it's very easy to be critical of the whole Soviet Union, the whole thing of Soviet Union, which is now completely collapsed. It doesn't exist anymore as such. But there were good things that came out of it. It's not all doom and gloom, and you look at certain places. I went to Transnistria, didn't I, where they're hanging in there, that they want to be part of Russia. That's why they're in this state of limbo. And that's fascinating itself, because part of you feels sorry for them, because you actually think, come on, why would you want to be under that type of rule? But then they've seen the bad side of the collapse of the Soviet Union around them in Moldova and Ukraine, and they've seen all the bad sides of capitalism, the greed that goes with capitalism, etc., etc. And they're sort of sitting there going, actually, we liked it back in the early, I was going to say early 90s, really late 80s, and back and beyond from there. So it makes it very, very interesting. It's modern history. I've got to be honest, the Romans don't do anything for me at all. It's too long ago. I can't really get my head around that. I can't stand in a Colosseum in Rome and feel sorry for the Christians who were slain to the lions. It was so many hundreds of years ago that it's just not something I can particularly relate to. But modern history, and when you consider that World War II was only 10 years before I was born, the end of it was, that's modern history, and that's what makes it much more interesting. And of course, yes, I know you can still see Roman remains, I do get that, but you can see people still living in the Soviet Union style of buildings, and some are still clinging on to the good sides of it as well. It's very interesting.